So hi everyone, we're here again for the My Kentucky Derby at home on May 2nd, 2020. We're on quarantine because of COVID-19 and this is our dinner video. So we have some veal Milanese that I fried up for my son because he won't eat lobster bisque, which I'm about to make. So this is the fried veal scallopini, and then over here I have the piccata sauce that I just made. So basically I just took the oil that was left over in the pan from frying the veal. I deglazed the pan with some white wine and butter, and then I added some lemon juice and capers and a little caper juice, and I just let it simmer here for a little bit. So that's our piccata sauce. And now for our feature, well, we have this beautiful wine to go with dinner. A 2015 Silver Oak from the Alexander Valley, one of our favorites. And you're gonna have some good focaccia bread or some crunchy French bread to go with the lobster bisque. But you wanna get a large pot on the stove and put some olive oil in it. And heat that up. A little gas on there. And then we're gonna add garlic. This is about 6 cloves. I always go heavy on the garlic. I love garlic. I put usually 2 or 3 times the amount the recipe calls for. And by the way, this is my secret recipe, which everyone loves, and it's no longer a secret after today. So we're gonna just saute the garlic, and this is a chopped up, 1 huge chopped up shallot. We don't need all this. We need about half of it, 2 tablespoons probably. So this is a little dry. We need a little bit more olive oil here. I use a lot of olive oil, probably one of these containers every week. We've been cooking at home every night since the shelter-in-place order. So for 5 or 6 weeks now, we cook at home every night. And this is my salt box. I am heavily salting everything. That's how I cook. I don't use a salt shaker, and I use a pepper box too. I have finely ground pepper on this side and coarsely ground pepper on that side. But I always use a heavy hand with the salt and pepper. So we're gonna saute these scallions and garlic together. And then, that cooks like a couple of minutes maybe. Then we'll, and the main thing you need to know about making this lobster bisque, by the way, is to be very organized. So I get all my ingredients together before I even start making the bisque, because it's a layering effect and you want to be able to move quickly. So I have everything measured out here, all my ingredients, and ready to go. So after the garlic and the shallots have slightly softened and become fragrant, I wish you could smell this because it's delicious. You're going to deglaze the pan with a half a cup of white wine. I just use some cheap cooking white wine. Don't use your good stuff. And you can hear it sizzle, and then you know that it's deglazing and cooking down, and that alcohol is being burned off of the wine, and that'll just leave behind the nice fragrant taste of the wine. Once you deglaze the pan with wine, we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. So I have that here. And I just usually estimate, so it's like 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. We're gonna add, I'm looking at the recipe that I wrote down a long time ago. We're gonna add 2 teaspoons of Tabasco. So again, I'm estimating 1, 2, and it depends on how spicy you like it, but we like it spicy. And then I'm gonna add some dried thyme, which is gonna be 1 teaspoon. I have my dried thyme here. And I'm just gonna estimate again. That's about a teaspoon. I'm gonna let that cook for just a minute. And then I'm gonna deglaze the pan with cooking sherry. And I just buy this inexpensive, I don't know, Fairbanks brand. You can see I've used a lot of it. It's almost gone. But we're gonna end up using a half a cup of sherry. And I have mustard out here. And so this is the next layering of the flavor. Again, you want it to sizzle so that the alcohol burns off of the cherry. And you just have that flavor left behind. So you let that simmer. And the next thing we're gonna add is paprika, hot water, and lobster base. I use Hungarian hot paprika. And I'm gonna actually add a teaspoon. Let me grab a teaspoon. This is my teaspoon. Okay, that's the paprika. And now the lobster base and the hot water. So this lobster base is a little hard to find. I buy this Better Than Bouillon brand. I found it once at the Whole Foods market or Fresh Market, but I don't find it now, so I have to order it on Amazon. But of course you can get everything on Amazon. So we're gonna actually use a teaspoon of this lobster base, kind of thick paste. This is an important ingredient for this recipe. And then you're going to dilute that down with a cup of hot water. Okay? And stir that together. It's really smelling delicious, by the way. And this is gonna serve probably 4 people with a really large serving that you could actually make a meal out of. And I like to serve this with like some crunchy French bread that you can dip in the bisque. And then after we let that simmer for a minute, we're gonna add tomato paste, 4 ounces. And I use this, I just buy this at Trader Joe's. It's Italian tomato paste. This is 4 ounces. This is double concentrate, so you could technically, I guess, only use half of it. I don't know, I just put in at least half of it, and sometimes more. It's a good estimation. So I would say about that much of a tube of double concentrate tomato paste. We're gonna let that come together. I wish you could smell this because it's amazing. And this comes together really fast. That's why you need to have your ingredients organized and prepared before. I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit. I got a big flame going here. I'm going to just look at my recipe quickly for a minute. All right, the next thing I need to add are 2 bay leaves. I don't know how critical these are. Sometimes I have them, sometimes I don't. So it just depends on whether they're in my pantry or not, whether I add them. Because in the end, you're going to take them out before you serve the bisque. No one wants to eat a bay leaf. And then next, I have my dog under my feet, who's always here when I cook, and I usually trip over her. This is Whoopi. And then I'm going to add 2 cups of half and half. Now we're getting close to the end. We're almost done. So you can see, I have used up almost all my ingredients that I had sitting here. We're going to slowly add the half and half while we're stirring. And the color of the bisque is going to change from this dark orange to a light orange. So you can use heavy cream if you want it to be really rich. I prefer to use half and half. And we're gonna let this come together. And then you should really let this simmer for about 10 minutes. But I'm gonna go ahead and finish it so you can see how it comes together. So you want this half and half to come to a boil. And then we're gonna add 4 tablespoons of butter. This is unsalted butter, Land O'Lakes. Let the butter melt in. You can see that this is a very rich soup, full of calories, but it's delicious, and you can make a whole meal out of it. You really don't need anything to go with this. We have the veal only because our son doesn't eat lobster bisque yet, but he'll learn one day. So let the butter melt, let that come together, and then the last thing you'll add, if you want, you can put a little salt and pepper in there. I already salted and peppered it, I believe, so I'm a little heavy-handed with that. And then lastly, you're gonna add the lobster meat, which is the most important part. And what I have here is 4 small tails that we bought at Costco that I took out of the shell and chopped the meat into bite-sized pieces. So let this butter melt, and then I'm gonna add the lobster meat. And it cooks really quickly. It's gonna go from this like translucent color to a white, opaque color within a few minutes, probably 30 seconds of dropping it in this broth. And then once the lobster's cooked through, you serve the soup, and with some crusty French bread and some good red wine, and you enjoy. But I'm gonna go ahead and put this lobster meat in, and this is a lot. That's what makes this bisque so good, because we're not chintzy with the lobster, and it makes it like a really hearty meal. So it is thick with meat. And you can see it's already turning opaque, some of the pieces, and they're cooking. And literally this is like a lobster meal. It's amazing. And we'll cook that just a few minutes longer, and then we'll serve it. So that's my Kentucky Derby at home dinner tonight. Thanks for tuning in.